Oh, it started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to American Sex Live. We were having some technical difficulties. We didn't know what was going to happen.
I'm Sonny Megatron, and this is
Ken Melvoin-Berg. No, actually, Freaky Friday. Freaky Wednesday. Weird Wednesday. That's what it is. This is American Sex Live. We are pleasure advocates, kinky perverts, and sex educators. I fucked that up, but you know.
And ambassadors.
It all gets mixed up in your
wait, I have a
stomach anyway.
very important announcement. I have unlocked an achievement today that I didn't think that I would do very easily. My beard is officially long enough to touch my penis.
Okay, and then
when I found out,
bathtub, I hear this like screaming, and you sounded muffled. I think you were muffled because you were doing this as you were screaming, probably. Yeah. And so I thought you were like having a seizure, and that's why you were like, ooh, like a muppet. So I run in, and he's just like, I can touch my beard to my penis. And I was like, But then he tweeted it, and I said, I thought you screamed so loud I thought you died. But then I learned you died of happiness or of hair penis. So yeah, puns. Let me just pull this up really quick. Hold on.
Thank you, Dustin.
Yay! Dustin rocks my world. Okay, so we're going to do our ball washing real quick. And then we're going to have, this is kind of a fun conversation of like my time as a phone sex operator and phone dom when I did the body storytelling story, which if you didn't hear it, I'm actually going to paste it here. Oops, I'm pasting a tweet. Hold on, let me get the links. I'm a mess today. But you know what? I don't really care because y'all know us. You know us, the good and the bad and the mess and the perfect, which perfect doesn't happen very often, but it's fine. Okay, so first link there is body storytelling. So when I told the story there, if you didn't hear it, go listen. It opened up this can of worms and people had all these questions. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But let's do our ball washing real quick. If you are watching this on Periscope, Facebook, YouTube Live, and you're like, oh, I didn't see anything pasted in the comments. Who is she talking to? I'm talking to the people in the comments on Get Vocal. The cool thing is, if you're here on Get Vocal, not only can you interact with us in the comments, you can also pop on camera and join the conversation. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Today's more of a conversation than other times. What are you doing? He's touching his beard to his penis. His penis is not out though, so even if it was, you wouldn't be able to see it.
You can't prove that.
I feel like our heads are too. I don't know. Now I just fucked everything up, didn't I?
That light is too much in the way too. It's reflecting off my glasses too much.
Can you turn it down? Do you know how? Ken's gonna operate the ring light now. Let's see if this works. Oh my God, you figured it out. Okay, we look horrible now.
Okay, wait, I have worked in TV.
There we go. Yeah, but you're not seeing how we look.
The angle that I wanted to switch, not the brightness.
Okay.
We look okay right there?
I guess so, yeah.
Are you too washed out?
Really quickly.
Didn't help my light.
As you saw, was it Dustin, I think, so generously demonstrated, Adam and Dustin so generously demonstrated that there is a tipping mechanism here on Get Vocal. So if you like our stuff, whether it's tonight or other stuff we've done or the podcast or our content or our Discord channel or whatever, and you want to throw us a little something, that's how you do it. Just click on the blue diamond and bang.
And what does Adam say?
Here's to having beards long enough to touch our penises.
Hair penis.
Hashtag hair penis. Thank you, Rachel. What else do I want to talk about?
Thank you, Rachel. I assume she's talking to me and not to you. What are you assuming?
I don't know. Well, I made it was in response to the comment.
Not my hair penis?
You were over there. Your hair penis is beautiful. What else do I want to say? Oh, also, I pasted in those links our Patreon, our Discord community. If you're not part of our Discord community, get over there. It's fun. Everyone tell everyone else how fun it is. And a few other links. Oh, also, I'm teaching at Sugar Baltimore, not at Sugar, for Sugar Baltimore on the internet. On June 6th and June 11th, I'm teaching prostate play and cyber sex. So come on in and join. I got the links there as well. And now I think that, yeah, we rock it on Discord. Be one of us. I think that's all the ball washing.
It is. It looks like Boris Johnson did my hair today.
A little bit. Everyone's got quarantine hair and quarantine nail, quarantine pubes. I got quarantine armpits. I'm growing my armpit hair for the first time ever. It smells like deodorant. I put deodorant on. Ah, you're tickling me. What? He likes armpits. Anyway, so today, ooh, Jesus, I'm knocking everything over. Today we thought we'd have a fun conversation about my stint as a phone sex operator, phone sex domination. As I said, I did the story for Body Storytelling, and people were like, "You did phone sex? What?" And
Maurice has an excellent question.
Oh, am I going to put Manic Panic under my arm hair? No.
That would be awesome, though.
No, because like I think you have to bleach it. Then it runs. So not only would I be sweating and I would have but I go in the pool every day,
so
and it would just, yeah, it would not be good. And I don't have much hair. Like I'm very sparsely haired on my everywhere that grows hair, pretty much. So I don't think it would really work. Anyway.
Look, I can be a member of parliament.
You could.
I could be the prime minister.
So a lot of people are like, wait a minute, you did phone sex? I had no idea. And I kept it secret on purpose. And I figure this conversation serves a few purposes. One, just for fun, because there is some freaky ass shit that happened. But two, if you are a phone sex operator or you've been thinking about getting into phone sex, this may also give you some tips as what to do, what not to do. There's lots of things to consider if you're becoming. The first thing is I was talking to Dixie De La Tour today. We talk a lot. And we were talking about the impression that a lot of people have that phone sex is dead. Phone sex.
Really?
Phone sex.
People think that?
Oh, yeah. Because they're like, we have computers and cam girls. Why would anyone want to go all AOL 1997 and talk on the phone? And as demonstrated in my Body Storytelling story, it's not so much like, oh, we're going to go low tech. It's that suddenly you don't have to have any props except for your imagination. You don't have to get dressed all fancy. You can make up that, yeah, I'm standing on my head and sucking my own dick right now with my beard hair or whatever. You can do.
I feel attacked.
You can do whatever you want, and you don't have to have the props. You don't have to show it. So just by default, using your imagination, there's a lot more possibilities. And this is especially true when it comes to domination, or anything that's out of the ordinary, outside from, you know, kind of your average vanilla tab A into slot B sort of sex. So I wanted to keep it a secret. For the main reason is I didn't want to cross my sex ed, more mainstream, I guess, persona with things that were very sexual, for a lot of reasons. One is, although the phone sex operator community and the online dom community is generally very welcoming, I was afraid that I might talk to a client that, you know, didn't like what I had to say or whatever, and would start fucking with me online. Like, this is my livelihood. My Sunny Megatron brand is my livelihood. I don't want to fuck with it. And I'm glad I did that, because it turned out there was a financial dom who I suspect, I'm not sure, but who I think had my dom persona YouTube taken down, my Twitter frozen, I think she thought I was competition, which I guess is a compliment, you know, but I would hate for that to be my Sunny Megatron Twitter or my Sunny Megatron YouTube. That would fuck me up. So I'm glad I kept that secret. And secondly, for me, like, when you're role playing, you might engage in some questionable things that would be questionable in a vanilla setting, may not be questionable in a fantasy sense. So if I'm calling somebody certain names or words or whatever that I would never do in real life outside of a fantasy setting, I would hate for somebody to, use that against me and be like, you used an unacceptable word. It's like, no, but that was part of our role play and we negotiated and that was the cornerstone of the scene that I was calling them that word because they had stuff to work out. Like, I just didn't want to cross that. So that was my reasoning.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Your main motivation behind doing phone sex work, was it that you were all about the phone sex work, or is that you wanted to do this but you didn't want to do video? Was it a pro phone thing?
No, I didn't even look at it like the standard is video, but I'm gonna go phone. I wanted to do phone sex in 2008. I think one of our mutual friends from Chicago, I actually met on FetLife in like 2000, maybe it was 2009, because they were a phone sex operator at the time. I'll tell you later who it is. But we were messaging, and I was like, "Tell me about." I really wanted to do it, but I was afraid, and I never did it.
Oh.
And
Why?
Then I was just afraid.
Oh.
I didn't know. Like, it was like the sex positive world was new to me. Phone sex was new to me. Like, everything was new to me. It
really didn't become accessible till about 2012.
Yeah, like there was Night Flirt, and Night Flirt is the one I mainly used even when I was doing it. And that's what I was thinking about joining. I think Night Flirt was like very new at that point. But I was just like, there was too many questions. I didn't have any friends that even knew really what I was doing. And it was too much. So I didn't do it. Anyway, so when I started doing it this time for two reasons. One, needed the money at the time. Two, I thought it would be good for my job. Like being able to, it's almost like speed dating with different people with different fetishes. Like I got exposed to a lot of different people's ideas and scenes, and I just thought it would be good in that respect. And it was for both. It was good for money. It was good for exposure to different people I might not really play with in a real life setting.
It seemed to give you a lot of experience really fast because you were doing call after call after call with, I mean, not all of them were like completely different, but there was enough variation to keep you interested, but enough, of the sameness where you could start seeing patterns and recognizing. I think because I noticed a difference in your teaching at that time because things started to click in a different way. It wasn't it wasn't top versus sub as much as it was you seeing the fetish from the inside in a way that you didn't
psychological. Yeah, because
does that make sense?
Yeah, it's interesting because when you okay, so I did phone sex and I did phone domination. I did not like phone sex. It was kind of like basic bros who were like, "Babe, ride my cock, I'm gonna come," and it was, you just went like, and it was just,
really, is that the best? Like, do it for real. Let's hear you do one.
I don't know. I would have to be in the.
You can't just like.
No. I'm a method phone sex actor. But it was I hated it. I hate being sexually objectified. I hated everything about it. There were a couple of, and I still occasionally put my phone line I had two phone lines. I had a sex phone line or two groups of phone lines. I had one for sex, and I want to say like two or three for different domination things. And I occasionally put
my goddamn phones do you have?
Not phone. You do different lines.
You said phone lines. I'm imagining you have a bank of iPhones.
Okay, so how Night Flirt works is almost like, think of like MySpace.
I get it. I understand.
No, I'm explaining to you. You're not everybody. Your brain isn't the collective brain. So think of Night Flirt kind of like MySpace, where everyone has like their profile page.
Rachel, it's like Discord channels.
It's kind of like Discord channels, yeah. And as a person, as a provider, you can have different profiles, and you could either be completely different characters. So for the people who are like super into acting, I could be like, I'm a schoolgirl from Japan, or something. And then on another line, I could be, well, people did very specific, like very stereotypical niche personas. You know, like I'm the horny housewife that's home when my husband's at work and I'm just so horny. I want to fuck everybody. Like that was one persona.
Have they ever met a housewife?
Again, it is the cliche, like what the stereotypical straight white man wants in porn. Those are the personas that people embody, you know? So like I could have different personas like that. I could have different fetish personas. I personally didn't like playing too many different characters that were different than I was because I'm a really bad liar. I'm really bad at like, no, really, I am blonde and I'm 18. Like I'm bad at doing like I do one thing really well. So I was myself, you know, my character, the same character in all my profiles. I just specialized in different things in each of them. Do not knock over. Oh, I'm gonna kill you. You're gonna knock shit over. All right. So shit, I lost my train of thought now. Dog with ears on. Please, he's gonna knock everything over. It's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad. Which persona is this, huh? Who are you?
Get the ears.
Oh, he's gonna eat them. Okay. So anyway, so yeah, that's how Night Flirt is set up, and I totally thank you, Kat. I forgot my total train of thought. Anyway,
Waffles, good job.
So, some of the phone sex guys, like there were a couple guys that are still memorable, although like I have a lot of fetish guys that are super memorable. The phone sex people I had too. There's one older guy who used to call me.
Now, before you tell the story, what if that guy is one of our listeners?
It was fine. I don't care. Like, okay. So, I really don't give a shit. I'm like almost 50. I have no fucks. If you're a weird guy and I talk about you, that's on you. Don't be a weird guy. But this guy wasn't weird. I mean, he was weird, but not in a bad way. He was more quirky, put it that way. So it was an older gentleman, and he was so nice, you know. And he would come up with these sexual scenes, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, oh we're fucking, oh yeah, it feels so good. Yeah, I'm thirsting hard now." You could hear him like moving, you know. And then he'd be like, "Oh, I came all over." And then he'd like talk for a couple minutes, like how you talk after sex, like, "Oh, that was nice." Oh. And then he'd be like, "Now I'm grabbing her tits again. Now we're fucking. Now we're fucking. Now we're fucking. Now oh my god. I came." And so we would talk for like an hour, and he would come like 47 times. And at first I was like, first time I talked to him, I was like, wow, he went again pretty quick. Wow. And then I realized like, there is no way that there's no way. But so then I never found out the answer. What's his deal? Is he having like tantric mini orgasms? Is he completely role playing and maybe he has ED and he can't come, and so he's fantasizing about coming because he can't? Like I always wanted to know his story.
I think that last one is the most viable. But maybe he's just reliving it.
It could be. It may be just his favorite part of sex is the orgasm, so he's like role playing it over and over and over. I always wanted to ask his story, and but he was super nice. And then after the sex, we just like chit chat, and you know, he was cool. He was the only sex person that I can recall that was like, okay, he's cool. It was a little quirky and strange, but he was nice. And then there was this other guy, and this is when I turned off my sex line forever. He was like,
was this the one that did it?
He was like a psychopath. What? Did what?
Like made you stop?
Not completely, but he made me stop like putting on my phone line. Like I blocked him and stuff, and it was just really creepy. Like he was super controlling and strange. Like I don't even remember the specifics, but it was just like
it was topping from the bottom the entire time.
No, this is a different guy.
Oh.
This is a sex guy. It was just really like he was super controlling. Just the way he was talking was like, you have a girlfriend somewhere that you psychologically torture, and maybe and she might be buried in the basement. Like he was just very creepy. And so that was like the end of that. So then I was like, okay, I had more fun and more activity on my domination lines anyway, and I enjoyed the domination. So I started just focusing on those lines more. So, and the one thing that got me to finally do it this time was I had another friend that it was the same sort of thing. Like money was tight. I'm going to do phone sex. So we kind of started it together. So we could compare notes. It was much easier, like doing something scary for the first time if you knew a friend was going through it too. And then you could like talk and compare notes. And sometimes we'd have the same callers and we'd be like, oh, you talked to that guy too, or whatever. Stop looking at me. So some of my...
Who was that? You and L? The letter L?
No.
Okay.
Oh, yes. So the domination people I liked because it was more than just like wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, 10 minutes, done. I wasn't the one being sexually objectified. There really wasn't anything sexual with me. Like I was a dom. Like if there was anything sexual happening, if I allow it, it happens to you, you know? And that was just more my speed. I liked it because these guys, and they were always guys. I never, ever got a call from a woman. Always men or male identified people. So they were more mentally creative and fun. Like we would come up with these scenarios. I also like that, not always, but oftentimes these guys were well versed in the BDSM lifestyle. So I would say probably 60% of the callers, instead of just picking up the phone and it's like they're halfway to come in, you're gonna knock over the table. Go on, get out from under here. Okay. Rather than you pick up the phone and they're like, and just expect you to know what's happening and jump right in, they would be like, hi, I am a masochist. I'm a sissy. I'm into this. I'm thinking about doing a scene about this and that. Is that something that you're into? And granted, not everybody did that, but I would say, yeah, probably about 60%, like a little more than half, which was pretty cool. So then you could have like a short negotiation. You could plan out a scene. They planned to stay on the phone. Like I would say those calls were minimum a half an hour, if not an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. Like those were long. I would say they'd average about an hour each. And it was pretty cool because some people would call me. They could tell, even though I didn't say who I was, just from my profile and the way I presented myself, they knew like I was legit. I wasn't just, a lot of people on phone sex sites are like, I'm going to dominate you. And they have no idea what that really means. They're like the insta-doms that aren't really lifestyle people, don't do this in real life, aren't pro-doms. So they could tell from my profile that's what I was into. And I would have some people call me just like, hey, this is what I'm into. I've been like one guy, I remember he called me, we talked for like 2 hours. And he's like, I was with this dom for close to 20 years or something. And they had broken up and she had kept him in chastity at one point, I think for 2 years. Like they had a hardcore dynamic. And he just wanted somebody to talk to because he missed her. He missed the lifestyle. He missed having someone he could talk to about like very fetish things in more of an intellectual way. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, remember when this was the big trend? Or, oh, hey, have you ever heard of this now? One time I did a scene. It was really cool. What do you think of this? Or let me tell you a story about one time that I ate my own poop. Or, like the average person would be like, ah, but I was just like, oh, cool. I just went a little bit. Yeah. Well, okay, I'll get to that next. I'll get to that next. So I am curious. I am not into a lot of things, but I will go along, and especially in voice chat, if I'm not actually doing it, I will go along with just about anything at least once just to see, because I'm just wildly curious. So things like poop eating and blood play and even diaper play and mommy stuff, those are against the terms of service on pretty much any phone sex line. However, they don't listen to your calls, at least on Night Flirt. I know if like you work for a company, they might. So a lot of people will make exceptions. If they have a client that they talk to that they know is they can trust, that they know won't be like, oh, this person talked to me about our terms of service stuff and report you or whatever. So a lot of operators will talk about some of those off-limit things if you get to know them well enough. So there was one guy who was like, content note here, we're going to talk about poop. He's like, I'm into poop. And I'm just like, okay, not my thing, but I didn't say that, but in my mind, I'm like, this is so not my thing, but I've never talked to anyone who was into poop before. Like my curious mind turned on and I was like, okay, let's do it. And so we had this like long scene, and granted, it was all verbal, but it was like, I'm taking a shit. Oh, was he also like, I don't know if he was a baby, but I want to say I remember like him in a high chair and me feeding him like his own poop or something. And he was like into like describing it like, this is the consistency and this is the color and this is how it tastes. And like he was really into it. And I was just like, half of me was like, oh my God. But the other half of me is like, this is fascinating. Tell me more about how does it taste, And then he was telling me about how he had this dom and he would actually like it wasn't just in his head. He had this dom that they had this whole shit-eating relationship with. And I was just fascinated. You look horrified.
Just a little bit.
I was fascinated. I don't know who would be. I'm just reading. Yeah, analytical mode. Exactly. Like I went into analytical mode like I was the student and I was learning. And I was just, even though I could separate the fact that like this does not turn me on at all, it actually kind of swicks me out, but I'm curious, so it was interesting. There was another guy.
There's a lot of things I am not curious about in any
I'm curious about everything.
I'm not shaming anybody.
Right.
I'm just saying that it's just certain things squig me out.
I'm one of those people though, like when I go to the restaurant, I want to taste everybody's food. Like I have to just have a taste.
Well, if I'm eating poo,
then I'll just ask you
want a bite.
No. That is one where I will probably sit next to you and watch you eat it and ask you questions and be like, I am fascinated. No way would I eat. I draw the line. Anyway, and actually I wouldn't sit that close to you because I probably smell it. Anyway, so another one I had like that was.
Do they like put spices or anything on it? It's like poop puree with like rosemary and some sesame oil drizzle.
No, but there was like, I want to say there was.
Or is it just like poop a la carte?
A poop shake, like soft serve ice cream. Like, and I would get
like
really,
with ice cream and poop.
No, like I would get really into like my imagination goes. So I'd be like, it's like soft serve ice cream, and then oh yeah, that's my favorite consistency. It was a whole thing. Anyway. Yes, yeah, that would be me. I did not get anyone who was into vomit.
And then it would be like Stand By Me when it was like it would go around the table and like Adam would puke and then I would puke.
That might be my squick limit is vomit. That might be.
And see, like, and I've done that before.
Yeah. See, we're different. We're different.
I've done rainbow play.
So another one I had was.
Sometimes when you're dressed as a clown, you just keep going.
Another one I had was, I just lost my brain. Oh, an adult baby. Okay, so.
Rachel. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. You're like, yes. You put up with lots of shit. You deserve
100 for rainbow play. Yes. 100 for rainbow play.
So, okay, I had an adult baby, and he was the first adult baby that I had played with, and he was really into it. He had an entire.
Adult babies are awesome.
Yeah, he was a little annoying. He was a little, like, just his personality. It wasn't the fact that he was an adult baby. It was just him as a person. It was a little, like,
well, that's
a little weird.
That's going to be anywhere.
Yeah. So he had a whole separate bedroom where he bought the adult-sized crib. It was like a whole baby nursery. And he would be in it, and he was really into peeing in his diaper. And he was telling me how he had a woman who was his mommy, who would come. Like, he was so into it. And I'm like, that's like, he was dedicated. I think that was the thing I admired about being a phone dom, was there were so many men that were very in touch with their sexuality, very clear with what they wanted. However, they had nobody to talk to about it. A lot of these people, their wives didn't understand. They didn't have in real life doms. So when I talked to them, it was like the most honest they could ever be with anybody, which was fascinating, a power trip. Like, it was cool, you know. Who else? I wrote down different ones.
Adam, he says, I can't do vomit either. When he was a vomit ninja when he was a paramedic, 13 years, and I was never puked on once. I could always see it coming and would levitate if needed to be get out of the way. Dude, I got puked on about 4 times a month.
Damn.
Like, it was a pretty regular thing, but like most of the people that we were picking up were, had extreme trauma or GI problems, both of which were vomiting.
So I had another guy. This was hilarious.
And I'm just terrible at dodging vomit, apparently.
Yeah. I had another guy who, he was calling me, and it's like getting foggy. I wish I would have written down the details. But he's like, I'm hiding from my wife or girlfriend or something. And I've locked myself in the trunk of my car. And it was this whole scenario.
He abducted himself?
Kind of. Like, he's like, I'm dirty and filthy, and I have all these dirty thoughts, and I should be ashamed, and my wife would kill me if she knew. So I'm it's like a compulsion. I can't help it. I have to, be humiliated by you and yank my little penis. Like, a lot of these guys were into humiliation and small penis humiliation and sissification and panty wearing and all that stuff. So, and he's like, I'm locking myself in the trunk of my car so my wife doesn't know what I'm doing. And the thing about phone domination is the scenarios get so outlandish. There's sometimes where you're like, are we still in a fantasy here? Like, are we making this up, or is this really happening? And with this guy, I was like, okay, it's an elaborate fantasy, and I'm going along with it. Like, yeah, lock yourself in that trunk, and your wife's gonna find you, and blah blah blah. And then, every once in a while, he'd be like, oh, I think I hear her. Oh no, she's gonna. And I'm like, yeah, she's gonna find you. She's gonna kick your ass. And then all of a sudden, I hear like, Michael, and he hangs up. That was real? Like,
did it sound like a closet or a car?
It sounded like a car. Like, this was legit happening.
Like, Michael was in the trunk again.
Yes. Like he probably does this every fucking day, and she's sick of it. But some of them, I start to wonder, is this real, or is this crossing the line for real? So I had this one guy who was Muslim, and
he was Muslim, or he said he was Muslim?
He said he was.
Okay.
So I don't know. This is what he told me. Okay. He's Muslim. And I think he probably was. And his whole issue was like, he was having issues with his religion and, versus his sexuality. He was kinky, but he was having like Muslim guilt kind of, and, his family was suppressing him. And, that was kind of the basis of this role play. And he would want me to tell him like what a horrible Muslim he was, and he wasn't being a good Muslim, and da-da-da-da-da. And so it was like, we'd role play for a little bit, and then he'd just talk. And then we role play, and then he'd just talk. Can't come so we can see you, Ken. You're like this. Are you touching your hair to your penis again?
Maybe.
Okay. So, and in the talking, he would be like, I hate my family so much and I hate how oppressive my religion is. But then at the same time, he'd be like, but I love my religion and I love Allah. And, but he'd be like, but I hate it too. And so then he's like, I went to.
Maybe he loves to hate it.
Maybe. He's like, I went to some sort of function at his mosque where there was a potluck. And he's like, I made, whatever dish, some potluck dish. And he's like, I put pork in it. And I'm like, I hope this is just a fantasy. Like, I hope you didn't really, but I'm, it's weird because when you're on the phone, you don't always negotiate. You don't always even have like, you can break the allure if you're like, okay, time out, are we just playing here? You know what I mean? So it's really hard to judge, like, is this a fantasy? Because I've stopped some things in the middle, been like, wait a minute. And they're like, dude, come on. I'm just fucking, come on. And I'm like, oh, sorry,
but when it starts getting dark, sometimes you don't know, is this
exactly
going to go down a really dark rabbit hole?
It gets worse. So, and I'm like, oh, and he's like, I'm a bad Muslim for doing that, but isn't that evil and, sadistic and, oh, yeah. And at this point, I'm like, and then he's like, oh, I went to another potluck. And this time I ejaculated into the food and I served everyone my semen. And I'm like, okay. And then he was like, I'm outside in the mosque right now. It was the same sort of thing. And I was just like, this really hard. And I remember saying things like kind of trying to, without completely breaking the scene, but also trying to be like, hey, dude, what's. And then he was like, I gotta go. Like, he's like, I'm in the parking lot of my mosque. I gotta go. Somebody saw me or something. And I was just like, whoa, that was freaky.
It sounds like Z.
No. But so like there were situations like that where you'll never know was this real or was this not real.
No. Come on.
I did have an interesting guy that would, and this was actually kind of hot. Oh, careful. This was actually kind of hot. It was like this young guy, and I think he sent me his picture. It was like a young, good-looking guy. And again, he could be lying, But I want to say either my memories are very vivid of the thing I concocted in my head, or he sent me pictures of like, I saw what his house looked like and what he looked like. I can't remember.
I know he sent you pictures of what he looked like. I don't know about his house.
What are you talking about?
You show me the pictures.
Do you even know what I'm saying?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Do you know which one this is?
It was a younger, attractive guy. I don't remember.
Oh, okay. So he first messaged me when he was like, I'm sitting on the couch with my girlfriend and we were watching TV and she fell asleep. And he would have me on the phone and he would type. Like he had like his laptop or something because he's like, I can't talk. And it like turned him on that he was getting off with another. And I was like making a scenario where I was like dominating him and, his girlfriend was asleep in the other room. And I would tease him like, I'm going to wake her up. And he'd only type to me and he'd be like, I can't talk. And oh my gosh, she moved, and it was like really hot. And he'd call me all the time and he'd wait for her to fall asleep or he'd be in bed sometimes next to her. And he'd be like, she's asleep. And I remember I made him go like, I was making him make noise. I was like, you have to moan, like just so I can't, she'll hear, you have to. And like he was getting into it, he's like, okay. So he'd moan a little and he'd be like, oh, and I'd hear him on the phone. He'd be like, or I'd make him whisper something to me while she was asleep. And then he typed me like, oh shit, she moved. And then I remember like I made him like go in the bathroom or something, which was next to the bedroom where she was sleeping, and masturbate and like say things loud. And it was actually really hot. I don't remember whatever came of it. I mean, he came, I guess, but so yeah. You'd be a bad phone down. I don't care if you put pork in it. Yeah, it was just it was weird. What else? Oh, the oil guy. The oil guy. So this was a guy who would call me, and we would session for a while. Like after a while, I started doing video sessions where I would black out my camera and I could see them, but they couldn't see me. And at first I thought that it's like, well, nobody's going to want that. Like if you can look at some hot chick, like why would you look at a blank screen? And there were a lot of guys that actually got off on it. Like it gave me more power, the fact that they couldn't see me, but they knew. It was like a voyeuristic kind of exhibitionist, like I'm peeping through the peephole looking at you, but you can't see me back sort of thing. So there was this guy that used to call me who would wear panties. He was into like chastity and being submissive, and he was into being humiliated by his, can't remember if she was an ex-girlfriend or a current girlfriend. But she was hot and she would never sleep with him. And I would tell him why he was such a loser and all the reasons she won't sleep with him, and that she's out with her girlfriends laughing at him and, fucking hot, rich, funny, successful men unlike him, and that she's going to cuckold him and she's going to come back, after partying with her girlfriends and sleeping with other guys and like chain him to the bed and make him do humiliating things and, da 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 da. All the while, he was sitting in his living room. His living room was completely dark, tarped, like Dexter was about to kill somebody. And he would get a 5-gallon bucket of cooking oil and like pour it over his head. And like, as I was telling him all these things, he would like get more into the cooking oil. And, what was the thing? There was something that happened. Oh, so we talk a lot. And I remember one time, like he totally broke character because the tarp moved and oil like seeped on his hardwood floors. And he was like, oh shit. It's like getting towels and stuff. But this was a regular thing for him. And one time he called me and he's like, mistress, I'm in the hospital. And I was like, first I was like, oh my God, are you okay? Because it's like, as you talk to these people more and more and more regularly, you become friends with them. And after you do your scene, you chit chat and, so my first concern was like, holy shit, are you okay? What's wrong? And I can't remember what was wrong, but it was nothing life or death, but it was something serious enough to be in the hospital for a couple of days. And
like kidney stones or something.
Something, I don't remember. So, please sit down, dog. Sit down, dog. Yoga. So he's like, I'm in the hospital, and I'm like, okay, you're fine. Establish that. And he's like, I can't stop thinking about you, mistress, and my girlfriend, and how she's out fucking other guys and that. And I'm like, do you really want to do this now? And at first I'm like, is he really in the hospital? There's always that question. And then I was hearing like the beeping of the machines and the nurses coming, like the whole thing, like he was in the hospital. And he's like, I can't jerk off because I'm in like the door's open. I can't, and I was just like, do it. And I was making him jerk off in the hospital with the nurse. And then like a nurse would come in and he'd be like, oh, yes, you can take my blood pressure. And then
not out of my femoral artery.
Oh, your blood pressure's awfully high. Yeah, and I remember at one point he was like, I'm gonna come, but I can't. Like I can't move enough to make it happen. I was like, go in the bathroom. It's like, I'm hooked up to an IV. I'm like, roll that shit in the bathroom with you. So I made him go into the bathroom.
That's not gonna kill him.
No, it totally was. Like whatever was wrong with him, it was nothing, he wasn't gonna die, but
no, it might have helped.
It might have. That was memorable. I was like, I cannot believe I just talked to a guy in the hospital. Then there were a few guys, one in particular. Like if you ever do phone sex, know that there are people that get off on being creeps. So they get off when you're new. They get off on.
Oh, they fight over the new meat.
Well, two things. They fight over the new meat, which like when you're new, if you're have a good profile and you're really active and you know what you're doing right away, you'll probably make really good money the first month or two. But you are also a target of the trolls. And there are definitely trolls on Night Flirt and Phone Sex lines that, I don't know if it's maybe their fetish, where they try to ruin new girls. So they will find you, you're brand new, you don't have any star ratings yet. And that's how how you're placed is like your star ratings are really important. And they'll find a new girl, and oftentimes they'll have a decent call with you, but then they'll give you 1 star and say how you were horrible. And then they've ruined you. And they have multiple profiles. So if you block them on one profile, it's the same guy will prop up.
Rating systems like that just suck for everybody that actually does them.
Yeah.
You can do the best job in the world, and there's just some people that will either intentionally fuck with you, or they're you weren't perfect, so you don't get 5 stars. What do you have to do to be perfect? Actually suck somebody's dick? If you're very nice and you do your job adequately, get them 5 stars.
Yeah. But there was one guy.
Fucking troll.
And he had different personas, and I would if there was somebody who didn't I didn't gel with, they were assholes, they were a troll, they were aggressive on the telephone, whatever it was, you could block them, and this guy started out having I'm submissive, and you're gonna take me to your dungeon and tie me up on the bondage table, that sort of thing. Kind of the run-of-the-mill 101, this is a kink scene and you're submissive sort of thing. And he would be like, okay, I'm doing this to you, I'm doing that to you. And he's like, okay, I react in some submissive way. And okay, I react in some other submissive way. And then he's like, okay, I put my face up and I kiss you. And it's like, oh, okay, then I punish the fucking shit out of you because you're not supposed to do that. What the fuck? I'm more eloquent role play, but this is kind of how the mood is going. And then he's like, oh, but then I break out of my restraints and I jump up. And it's like, okay, well, I do this next because you can't do that and you're submissive. And he's like, and then I pin you down and I say that you're going to fuck me and I'm going to fuck the dominance right out of you. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? And so this guy had different profiles, and I would always fucking get him. And he would just keep calling and I would keep blocking him. That was a huge pain in the ass. It was interesting though, because
that's the guy I remembered.
Yeah, it was interesting because when people think of kink, they think of floggers and I'm gonna put you on a St. Andrew's cross and I'm gonna beat you and I'm gonna and I don't know if this is probably one because it's the nature of being on the phone, but I think there's something else there. These guys were very psychological, super psychological. A lot of them were I wear panties, I'm a loser, I had this good one. I almost forgot.
Guys, really quick before you finish that. Guys, I'm in the middle of PaizoCon right now, and I've got to leave. I've got just a couple minutes.
Oh, are you going?
I have to. I need 10 minutes to get set up, sweetheart. I am so sorry.
You're hanging up prematurely.
I am.
Click. Okay.
No, I'm not hanging up prematurely, but I've got paperwork and stuff that I have to figure out for it before that I couldn't do earlier.
But I'll hang out and I'll party with you guys afterwards.
So you guys, bye. I love you all. I will see you next time. I am off social media for a bit because I'm doing PaizoCon virtually all weekend long. Maurice and anybody else who's here for the Pathfinder game, if Kinky Squirrel is here, we are not gaming this Saturday. Nick's dad is having a wedding, I believe, and so it's canceled because of that.
Okay.
So we'll pick it up again.
Make Nick feel bad. It's canceled because of you, Nick.
No, we're celebrating because it's Nick's dad. It's not canceled because Nick.
Oh my God.
Bye, everybody.
All right. So this guy was good. He was my first introduction to death fetish, which Since if you listen, I think episode 4, like one of our early podcasts when the sound was horrible, we interviewed Dick Wound, who we just had them on a couple weeks ago from the Off the Cuffs podcast, and talked about his death fetish because he had a heart attack and almost died, and then he turns up fetishizing dying. So this guy, I really enjoyed after this being a Black Widow. So I would, it was like this handsome guy, and kind of like a nice guy. We were on a cruise, and he was on the cruise with his wife or something, and his wife would go, or maybe he was alone. I don't remember. But anyway, we ended up like strangers hooking up on this cruise ship that we were on. And then we'd go to his room and we have this like hot sex, and I would give him a pill. And sometimes I would like give it to him outright, like, oh, it's just a little pill, little drugs, little Viagra, little, something. I'd lie. Or sometimes I would like put it in his drink, and then he would be close to coming. Like we get into this like super sexual scene, and he'd be close to coming, and I'd be like, guess what, bitch? So you have a choice to make. That pill that I gave you wasn't, Viagra or Adderall or, whatever it was. It was actually a pill that if your heart rate gets up to a certain point, your heart will explode and you're going to die. So you have a choice. Like, you are an inch away from coming, but if you get your heart rate up to the point of coming, you will die. What's it going to be? And then he'd be like, no, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. But he'd be like, but you're so sexy. And then I'd be like, oh, and I keep, blowing you or whatever I'm doing. And I'd be like, haha, I'm going to kill you. You're going to die. This is going to be the best orgasm of your life because it's going to be the last one of your life. And you'd be like, no. They'd be like, but it feels so good. And then eventually we would get to the point where I was like, we're getting closer. Your heart's going to explode. And he'd be like, I'm coming. And then he'd be like, I'm dying. And then he'd pretend he was dead. And then he'd be like, that was great. Let's meet again next week and do it again. That was pretty good. Yeah, exactly. He was like, guess I'm going to die. And then after I got, I even realized Black Widow fetish was such a thing. And I want to say, saying you're going to murder somebody is against the terms of service, even in a role play scenario, is against the terms of service. But I think you could say Black Widow, maybe. And there were also secret ways where I want to say, because people could search different terms, like on Night Flare, you could search like Black Widow fetish. And if that was in your profile, you would pop up. And I want to say there were ways, kind of like the old SEO, where if you wanted to be like, I don't know, fresh bread, but you wrote a sentence like, and the cantaloupe I bought was so fresh. Bread is delicious, but then it makes fresh bread because it's together, sort of thing. I want to say we did stuff like that on our profiles. So we were able to kind of say things we weren't allowed to say. So I might have somehow ended up doing Black Widow that way. I can't remember. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And I'm trying to remember what else. Oh, I never unlocked the thing. Come on with me. I'm sorry. I never unlocked. How does pay work with phone sex? Okay. So if you're doing it like through Night Flirt or through, I want to say I was a member of, there was a couple other sites I was on too, but I liked Night Flirt, so I mainly just stayed there. It's by minute. So when they call, you have a special 1-800 number assigned to you that reroutes to your cell phone or, whatever, your landline. So they never have your number directly. And then it starts charging that, like a ticker goes by the minute, and just the company will charge on their credit card. Like, I want to say I was between $1.90 and my lowest was $1.99 a minute. And then I think I had some like financial domination lines that were $3.99 or $4.99 a minute, something like that. But I average about $2 a minute. And the company takes, and it's been a while, I want to say 30 or 40%.
You're worth at least 5 a minute. Come on.
I know, right? I was like, if I ever go back to it, I'll charge more. And I had thought about going back to it now because COVID. 2 reasons I'm not. One, I'm hearing that the phone sex lines are being inundated with providers. Even though, yes, there's some more callers calling, there's so many more providers that it's not very lucrative. And 2, I spent so much time like designing my website, advertising. Like it was a full-time job, even if I didn't have the phone. And I'm like, I would have to invest so many hours into like building up my profile and getting back on the site and it's just not worth it.
Like,
at
if
this
you
point.
ever did, would you go back as Sunny Megatron, or would you go back under somebody else?
No, never. I would never be me
Yeah.
on phone sex. I don't think it's right. Like I had said before, like some people want to fuck with you.
Yeah.
So I don't want to bring that upon myself. And I honestly don't think it's right for my branding for a couple of reasons. One, I have a lot of people like, I want to be taken seriously as a sexuality. Yeah. And I already have enough people messaging me like, hey, want to see my dick? And that I'm like, fucking stop. And if I start under this persona doing sex work, it's going to confuse more people and just piss everybody off. So, yeah.
I mean, that's what got me to come here to begin with, is just how legitimate you were. And I just liked how you did everything. So I can see why you wouldn't want to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's really hard, especially for people that are in more sex positive circles, like you all get it. But for people like the civilians out there that know nothing about sex positivity, I'm talking about the people that don't know the difference between I'm asking a legitimate just sex ed question and I am being intrusive and I'm sexually objectifying you and trying to be turned on. Like the people that don't know the difference between that, it would just confuse them even more. You know what I mean?
The ones that really piss me off are the ones that, call you out on shit like that and say you're a piece of crap and, oh, you're going to go to hell. And then the next day they go to church and,
yes.
Oh my God.
Like there's a lot of those, like, the anecdotal evidence. And I think Dr. Justin Lehmiller did some research that actually showed that, the more conservative you are, the more kinky you are. Like if you're on these websites doing this stuff in secret, there's a likelihood that you're conservative. And I know like a lot of the porn surveys show like the most porn and the most like out there porn is consumed in places like Utah and the Bible Belt and
weird.
Yeah. So I don't know. People are interesting. It was a good exposure to all sorts of different people in general and a lot of different fetishes. It really was like kind of like speed dating. But another reason I didn't like it is I have tremendous phone anxiety and you never know who is going to be on the other end of the phone. You never know when the phone's going to ring. And I'm already like, I have executive function and attention issues. So it's like trying to do some work. Is the phone going to ring? Is the phone going to ring? But I finally get to the mindset to get into my project and then the phone would ring.
You have anxiety about anxiety. So
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So like, and then I never knew when I picked up the phone, who is this going to be? Are they going to be a weirdo? Are they going to fuck with me? Are they going to be a call that maybe it's going to last 2 hours and I have somewhere to go in 45 minutes? Like I had anxiety about like, I didn't know who was going to pick up the phone. So then as I started to get some more regular clients, I would start scheduling calls with them because then I'd know, okay, Tuesday night, 8:00, I'm going to talk to so-and-so. I know what's coming. wrap things up because it's 9 o'clock, but we're going to stay and talk. Thank you. This has been American Sex Live, me and Ken, who had to step away. Tune in every single Wednesday night at 8 o'clock for more sex ed stuff. I think next week, I don't know if Carolyn Pierce is here, but I know if you were here last week, we talked about having Carolyn Pierce on. I think that's going to happen next week. She's going to be our guest, waiting to confirm. But yeah, every Wednesday night, come join us. And I'm going to tape for your tape. Why do I say tape? I'm going to paste for you in the chat. The body storytelling story. If you haven't listened to it, go listen. My classes at Sugar, our Discord, join it. It's free. It's fun. There's great people there, and our Patreon. And until next time, thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Bye. All right, everyone, stay here. Oh, by the way, if you're on any of those platforms like Facebook, Periscope, or YouTube Live, and you want to have a little after party with us, you got to get on over to Get Vocal, which is bit.ly, bit.ly/SunnyGetVocal, SUNNYGETVOKL. We're going to turn off the broadcast and the simulcast, but we're still going to be talking, and you're going to miss it. Okay,